Thank you, Thad. Antonio L. McGinnis, Sr., please stand.
Antonio Tony McGinnis is one of many high school basketball stars who later enjoyed equally successful college careers after being coached by Jack Doss at Huntsville's Butler High School. An all-state player at Butler in the late 1980s and early 90s, McGinnis became a 4-year letterman and 3-year starter at Texas A&M University, where he's still remembered for his defensive prowess, his rebounding, and his scoring. The son of Leon and Ellen McGinnis, Tony was born here in Huntsville in 1972. Nicknamed T-Mac in high school, he lettered in both football and basketball as a sophomore before deciding to concentrate primarily on basketball, a sport that best suited his 6'5", 190-pound frame. He was also a well-rounded student in addition to his athletic skills, receiving several academic awards. Tony was one of those kids who helped establish our program here, said Doss, who has won 5 state championships at Butler. McGinnis led his team in scoring 3 straight years, averaging 16.4 points as a sophomore, 17.3 as a junior, and 20.6 points as a senior. He was also the leading rebounder for the Rebels, who won 2 city championships and 1 area title in his last 2 years. As a senior, McGinnis played on a team that finished 30-4 and advanced to the Final Four of the state tournament. He was named first-team All-State and the city's most valuable player as a senior, and was also nominated for the McDonald's High School All-American team. Hotly recruited by such SEC schools as Alabama, Auburn, Vanderbilt, and Mississippi State, McGinnis chose Texas A&M because he felt it was a great place to learn and play ball. At College Station, he started 18 games and averaged 8.3 points and 3.3 rebounds as a freshman. Against Nebraska, he poured in a career-high 28 points. As a sophomore, he averaged 9.3 points and 3.1 rebounds while starting all 27 games. One of his highlights that season was scoring the Aggies' final 7 points off offensive rebounds in a 57-54 upset victory over Florida. He started 29 games and averaged 10 points and 3.6 rebounds as a junior, and averaged 15.2 points per game as a senior. As a senior, he was named to the All-Southwest Conference defensive team. He finished his career as the number 12 scorer in A&M history with 1,240 points. Now a community leader in his hometown, McGinnis is executive director of the Harris Home for Children and also serves as head basketball coach at Oakwood University. A journalism major in college, he has written a book, The Game is Deep, that documents the ups and downs of basketball and why so many struggle in life after leaving the sport. McGinnis and his wife Mitzi have 5 children. Tony McGinnis.
Tony, please come to center stage and be inducted. Thank you, Tony. Our next inductee, Porter Moore Jr. Joe, please stand for your brother.
Joe Moore, one of Porter Moore Jr.'s younger brothers, may have said it best while describing the culture-changing achievements in the all-too-short life and times of his brother. "I watched Porter go through the struggle," said Joe. "He was a true pioneer in the integration of athletics in Huntsville and Madison County. Not many individuals could have handled the racial slurs and threats he had to go through so that his siblings and others could follow in his footsteps. He had heart, stamina, hope, and a dream. He knew it was his time, and he showed the community how athletics could make a difference. The end of segregation of Alabama's public schools was still in its infancy when, at the beginning of the 1966 and 67 school year, Porter Moore transferred from all-black Council Training School to Huntsville's Lee High School and quickly established himself as one of the top all-around athletes, black or white, in North Alabama. Quick, agile, and rangy, Moore became a 2-year starter, an all-city in, and captain of the football team. He helped lead the basketball team to its first state championship in 1968. He was a cornerstone of the track team. Porter was more than a great athlete. He was also a great human being, said Dr. Fulton Hamilton, Lee's principal at the time. Porter did everything with dignity, said Lee's football coach Keith Wilson. Lee basketball coach Derry Dugan said Porter was a tremendous athlete and a tremendous person and one of the forerunners in the integration of sports here. I'll never forget the way he played in the 1968 state tournament. Behind the all-tournament performances of Moore and Danny Petty, the Generals swept Bradshaw, Tuscaloosa, and Gadsden to win the state 4A championship. Following his graduation from Lee in 1968, Moore joined the U.S. Army and served honorably until his discharge in 1972. He then enrolled at Alabama A&M on a football scholarship. An inside linebacker, he was a senior on legendary coach Lewis Crew's last A&M team in 1975. By then, Joe Moore was an offensive guard at Tuskegee Institute, where he became a 4-year starter and eventually a member of Tuskegee's Athletic Hall of Fame. I'll always remember the thrill of playing against my brother in college, said Joe, now a resident of Oak Ridge, Tennessee. I was outnumbered 2-1 on the field that day. One of my sisters, Yvonne, was an A&M cheerleader. Tuskegee won 26-21. A few days later, Porter played one of his best games, recovering a fumble and intercepting a pass in the Bulldogs' 31-12 victory over Miles College. Several weeks later, while preparing to attend an A&M basketball game against Fisk, Porter collapsed at his home and died of a heart attack. He was 27 years old. He left behind his wife Barbara, his young son Bernard, his mother Pearl, 3 brothers, 3 sisters, and an unforgettable, enduring legacy in Huntsville's sports history. Porter Moore.
Joe, please come to center stage. Thank you, Joe. Our next inductee, Jeffrey L. Redcross. Please stand.
For a guy who didn't even play varsity football until his senior year in high school, Jeff Redcross turned into an extremely fast learner. He went on to become one of the best football players in the history of the University of North Alabama, and his rapid development as an elite athlete also happened to coincide with UNA's greatest era in football. Because of his religious beliefs as a Seventh-day Adventist, Redcross played only JV football until his senior year at Sparkman High School, although he excelled in basketball in both the 11th and 12th grades. But even though he had been a relative novice in the sport up until then, his promising performances on the prep football fields during that 1989 season were enough to persuade UNA coach Bobby Wallace to sign the Senators' 6'3", 220-pound linebacker to a full scholarship. In short order, it became obvious that Redcross was a star in the making. At Sparkman, he made the All-Madison County Tournament team in basketball as a junior and senior. He was named to the second-team All-State basketball team as a senior, lettered in both football and track the same year. He also received Sparkman's Scholarship Achievement Award and was named Who's Who in high school sports by Pegasus Publishing and lettered in both football and track as a senior. At North Alabama, he became a 4-year football letterman from 1990 to 93, and the awards began piling up with each successive year. In 1993, his senior year, Redcross was named National Defensive Player of the Year by Football Gazette. He was also named First-Team All-Gulf South Conference, GSC Defensive Player of the Year, All-South Region, First-Team NCAA All-American by the Division II Sports Information Directors and the Football Gazette, and Second-Team All-American by the Associated Press. Playing alongside the likes of future NFL players Ron McKinnon and Israel Rabon, Red Cross had a spectacular senior year, finishing with 82 tackles, 51 solo, 15 tackles for loss, 3 fumble recoveries, 7 sacks, and a blocked extra point. The Lions finished 14-0 that year. During his college career, Red Cross played on teams that played in the NCAA Division II playoffs in 1990, 92, and 93. UNA also won national championships in 94 and 95 during a historic 41-1 run. Red Cross was later selected for the 50th anniversary UNA football team, 1948 through 1998, and was also named to the All-Gulf South team of the 1990s. In 2005, he was inducted into the UNA Athletic Hall of Fame. Red Cross was a member of the U.S. Marine Corps Reserve from 1990 to 98. As an artillery section chief and a cannon crewman, he served in the Persian Gulf. Now 41, Red Cross lives in Muscle Shoals and works as an officer in the Florence Police Department. He has one daughter, Jaslyn Red Cross. Jeff Red Cross.
Jeff, please come to center stage and be inducted. Thank you, Jeff. Our next inductee, Butch Weaver, please stand.
Officially, his name is Robert Weaver, but nearly everybody around town calls him Butch. His students and players at Lee High School call him Coach. His rivals call him hard to beat. The record book says he's one of the best high school coaches the city of Huntsville ever produced. Now in his 33rd year in the Huntsville school system and his 6th year as Lee's athletic director, Weaver's also in the midst of his 27th season as the head baseball coach at Lee, his high school alma mater. Going into the 2013 season, his Lee baseball teams had won 451 games and appeared 19 times in the state playoffs. He's been honored as the city's baseball coach of the year 6 times between 1989 and 2012. More than 50 of his players have signed college baseball scholarships, and 9 have been drafted by the major leagues. One of these, pitcher Craig Kimbrell of the Atlanta Braves, was the National League's Rookie of the Year in 2011. Weaver played football, basketball, and baseball at Lee in the early 1970s. He then attended Calhoun Community College before transferring to the University of Alabama, where he graduated in 1979. While still a student at Alabama, he began coaching baseball in the summers in the Babe Ruth League at Oak Park in Huntsville. He started his high school coaching career in 1980 at Bob Jones and later coached at Butler, Johnson, and Madison Academy. In 1987, he was named head baseball coach at Lee. He also served as the General's head football coach from 1990 to 96, winning 2 city titles and advancing to the state playoffs 4 times. When asked to name the most influential person in his coaching career, Weaver said, "I'm going to surprise you. The answer is Ray Walker." Ray Walker, who was inducted into the Huntsville Madison County Athletic Hall of Fame in 2004, won 489 games in 25 years as Grissom High's head baseball coach, capturing 9 city titles and a state championship along the way. In middle school at Chapman, he was my baseball coach and B-team basketball coach, said Weaver. He was a young teacher and coach who made playing sports fun. He was hard but fair. He made us do what was right. I remember one day I called him Ray, and for that mistake, he made me run for what seemed like an hour. I didn't make that mistake anymore. Coach Walker influenced me at a young age of 14, and from the 8th grade on, I had ambitions of coaching baseball. When I became head coach at Lee, I was suddenly coaching against the man who influenced me the most. In 1989, Walker's Tigers met Weaver's Generals in the semifinals of the state tournament. They beat us in the third and deciding game to advance to the finals, Weaver said. All those years, it was strange coaching against the man who started my dreams in coaching. Even today, I have a hard time calling him Ray. I'll always remember him as Coach Walker. Weaver has been married to Patty Campbell Weaver for 32 years. They have 2 children, Matthew Weaver and Rachel, married to Matt Reynolds, and a grandson, Kipton Reynolds. Robert Butch Weaver.
Butch, please come to center stage and be inducted. Thank you, Butch. Our next inductee, D. Foster Worley. Please stand.
Dionne Worley of Huntsville was known as Dee Dee in 1984 when at the age of 13 she was named the first elite gymnast in the state of Alabama. She was still answering to Dee Dee as a student at Grissom High School and later at the University of Alabama, where she became the first African-American woman to sign an athletic scholarship with the Crimson Tide. A member of the USA national team while still in high school, Foster was already competing and excelling at the national and international level well before the start of her college career. When she was 16, an untimely injury kept her from competing in the 1988 Olympic trials. Almost immediately after enrolling at Alabama the following year, she became the collegiate star of stars on the uneven bars, balance beam, floor exercise, and vault, just as future Hall of Fame coach Sarah Patterson was beginning to build what would become a gymnastics dynasty at the capstone. Nobody ever showed up here with more determination to succeed than Dee, said Sarah Patterson's husband David, who helped coach the Tide gymnast at the time. She set her goals high, and then she went out and did it. During a hitherto unsurpassed gymnastics career at Alabama from 1989 to 93, Foster became a 17-time All-American, 4-time champion, and 9-time regional champion. As a senior in 1993, she set an NCAA record with perfect tens in 5 consecutive meets. Ranked as the nation's #1 all-around competitor, she was a runaway winner of Alabama's Amateur Athlete of the Year award. During her time at Alabama, she won awards as SEC Female Athlete of the Year, SEC Freshman of the Year, and NCAA Gymnast of the Year, and was nominated for NCAA Female Athlete of the Year alongside world and Olympic champions Maya Hamm and Cheryl Swoops. One of 5 children, Dee credits her mother, former State Farm employee Edie Foster, for much of her success in life. Other than God and His generous bestowing of athletic talent, my mom is the person most responsible for helping me turn God's gift into a skill that resulted in 17 years of my wildest dreams coming to pass. She sacrificed so much to ensure that I was always in the best possible position to succeed at the top level. Now, 20 years later, Dee is married to Tim Worley, a former All-American running back at the University of Georgia. Tim and Dee are co-founders of a Huntsville-based company called Worley Global Enterprises. Dee heads up the business consulting division, and Tim is in charge of the motivational and mentoring division. They have 2 children, Brandon and Taylor Worley. D. Foster Worley.
Dee, please come to center stage and be inducted. Thank you, Dee. What a wonderful class of inductees. Let's give them one more big round of applause. Mr. Tony McGinnis will give the inductee response for the class of 2013. Tony?
On behalf of all the 2013 class of Hall of Famers, I'd like to thank the Board of Directors for recognizing our contributions to the progression of sports here in the Huntsville, Madison County area. I'd also like to thank you all for your attendance here tonight and your support that you've given each one of us as we were becoming the men and women we are today. I'd like to also give my wife and my children a special thank you for attending, and my parents and family for their support throughout the years. My dad rarely missed a game, and my mom rarely missed the opportunity to let everybody in the gym know she was at a game. So I thank them both for that. I'd also like to thank Patrick Wynn for his nomination to the Board of Directors, and also for being a mentor who was transparent, somebody that I could look up to. Patrick and I are from the same family. His grandma and my grandma are sisters. And I always watched Patrick and knew that I wanted to be the kind of athlete that he was. I can remember, Pat is a lot older than I am, and I can remember watching him play sports at McCormick YMCA, at Stone Middle School, and at Huntsville High, and thinking that I wanted to be just like him when I grew up. After he signed a college scholarship, it gave me the motivation to know that I could do the same thing. I turned out to be a much better athlete than he was, but I thank you for your contribution to the family. Throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to play with some fine athletes, some men who've pushed me to new heights and challenged me to do the best possible athlete I can be. These are my Hall of Famers. I accept this award tonight on behalf of all of my teammates, the guys who locked arms with me and went to battle as we aspire to win championships. We might not have won them all, but you can best believe when you stepped on the court with guys like William and Howard Pride and Devin Sullivan and Jarvis Sells and Papa Smurf, you know you were in for a battle. So I accept this award on their behalf. I also accept the award on guys like David Joe and Pat Dortch and Pat Claiborne and Robert Brooks, just to name a few. These are superior athletes who never will get a chance to step across this stage as Hall of Fame athletes because they were victims of our community. Their games ended way too soon. I've also had the privilege of having some awesome teachers, mentors, and coaches throughout my career. People like Bernie Palmer, Sam and Teresa Anderson, Jack Doss, guys like Cedric Worry and Gene Phillips. These were people who were not afraid to get up close and personal with you. Not like Sandusky, but you know what I'm saying. These were individuals that helped me see a brighter path. Whether it was through a wooden spoon, a personal conference in the media room in the pod, or through making me sit out the first half of my senior season. I still don't understand that one. I couldn't understand it back then, but I'm so grateful for these individuals because they saw something in me that I really couldn't see in myself. Their push and motivation helped me to develop into the man that I am today. I'm also thankful for one of my personal MVPs. This was a young lady who would pile me and friends like Shaf Darby and Shaf Muhammad, Marcus Friend, and Thad Brooks all into a green station wagon when we were kids. She would pile us into this vehicle and drive us all over the city trying to play sports and really never asked us for gas money, never complained, but always made us feel welcome and comfortable. This is my MVP, and she'll never get a chance to walk across this stage and accept an award, but I accept this award on behalf of Irene Davis. She was a person that really stood out most in my life and really helped us develop as young people, so I accept this award on her behalf. And in closing, Sports has played a major role in my development as a man. Through sports, I've been able to live out the dream that Martin Luther King had. I've witnessed young people of all races joining hands and working together in unity as brothers and sisters, judged not by our skin color, but by our uniform color. Sports have allowed me the opportunity to be judged not by my financial status, because while in competition, it didn't matter whose parents had the most money, most of the time. I've seen people from the north end of Huntsville embracing people from the south end of Huntsville, all for the love of the game. Through sports, I've been able to sit at tables that my grandparents would never have the opportunity to sit at. I've been able to be a globetrotter exploring the world because of the game that I've loved and that was good for me. I thank God for blessing me with the ability to run, jump, shoot, and slam. I thank Him for the journey that He placed me on. Growing up with brothers who started fights with the biggest, baddest guys in the neighborhood and ran to me, I thank them for that because it developed our character and it taught us how to be real fast. I thank Him for all the things that He's done for me, the trials that came to make me stronger. I thank Him for a community that embraced athletics. And I thank Him for the Madison County Hall of Fame and for this opportunity that we have tonight. I thank all of you for what you poured into all of us. And I just thank God for just allowing me to see Huntsville through a different set of eyes. Growing up in public housing, sometimes we didn't get an opportunity to see a lot of great things, but through athletics, for that 60 minutes or an hour or hour and a half, it allowed us an opportunity to be normal and to be just like everybody else. So I thank God for just giving me these opportunities. And once again, I thank the Hall of Fame committee for recognizing all of us this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. You are definitely an impressive group of athletes here tonight, and we stand in awe of you. But you're an even more impressive group of men and women who have meant so much to our community, and we salute you for that. Well, that wraps it up for me tonight, but Greg Patterson has some closing remarks, followed by the benediction by Louis Vaughn. Greg?
Tony, that was an excellent acceptance speech. Very well done. Thank you. After looking at all these good coaches and players up here tonight, I'm ready to play. Anybody want to be on my team? I believe we could win a few with this group. On a personal note, I was very much involved with Joe Moore's brother Porter, who was inducted tonight, and probably knew Porter better than anybody at Lee High School. We were in the same graduating class, and it was, there was a lot of memories for me when I saw those pictures flashed up there. I was right there with him when integration really started in Huntsville City Schools. We have a lot of people that make this thing go tonight, but before I get to that, I wanted to mention a little bit about our process. These 12 people that were selected for this tonight not only are good athletes and good coaches, but they're also good citizens. They were selected from more than over 100 nominations that come in to us each year. Some of those nominations roll over from year to year. Our committee starts our process in September, and we study the candidates and discuss them and research them through the months of October and November. We have numerous meetings. I think we meet 20-something times in 1 year to get this thing to the final cut. And then we make our selection before Christmas and notify them. So we put a lot of time into this. I want to thank our board members, for the research they do and the phone calls and all the checking on people to see who our best candidates are. And a lot of times it's very difficult to pick a group of 10 or 12 out of 100 because our county is blessed with a lot of good athletes and a lot of good coaches, and that process is not always easy. For tonight's banquet, I'd like to thank the staff of the Von Braun Center for an excellent meal, Kelly Griffin, who prints our program, Tom Kinnemer, Don Phelps, Keith Ward, Sharon Dugan, Kay Batchelor, Doris Wilson, Brenda Day, Pat Vaughn, and Gerald Dupree for helping us decorate and prepare for tonight. So it's my pleasure now to introduce Louis Vaughn.
If you agree with me that tonight has been a great night, I just ask you to all stand for the benediction, please. Heavenly Father, what a great and wonderful night this has been, and we just thank you for every blessing, every way you've blessed us tonight.